Well, welcome everyone to another Live Life Well virtual cooking class. My name is Kate Watts. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. We're trying out a little bit of a different angle today because I'm going to be over here at the stove. So let me know what y'all think about this setup. If you have questions or comments during the live video, you can use the chat box. I'll be keeping an eye on that. And if you're joining us online, watching the recording on our YouTube channel, you can find the recipe and everything you need in the description box below. So today we are making a Tuscan herbed chicken over creamy tomato linguine. And I'm very excited for this recipe because pasta is one of my all-time comfort foods. If I want to indulge, pasta is normally my dish of choice. But the really cool thing about this recipe is we're going to make our own creamy sauce. And so it's a much lighter version, but it is still so delicious, y'all. And it's really easy. And that's actually something that I learned doing some of those meal delivery kits. This recipe is actually from Every Plate. There's other companies that do very similar offerings where they mail you however many recipes you choose for the week, say 3 different recipes with all the ingredients you need and the recipe cards. And this really helped me get more comfortable, like cooking from scratch, I guess you would say, because I kind of learned some of the basics by following the recipes in these meal kits. So I wanted to highlight this recipe today because the theme for the month is global cuisine at home. So we're taking ourselves over to Tuscany in Italy today, and we're gonna make our own pasta dish. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about how you can try out one of these delivery kits with promos from Cone Health if you are a Cone Health employee watching today. But I also just wanted to say that once you get these recipes, you can reuse them. So this is one of my favorites that I've kept, that I make on my own now, purchasing my own ingredients. So I'll kind of talk you through some tips for doing that if you're interested as well. Okay, so let me tell you what ingredients we're using today. We're going to have Roma tomatoes, garlic, a Tuscan heat spice, chicken breast, linguine pasta, cream cheese, shredded parmesan, and then I'm going to be adding in a few extra ingredients to boost the nutrition. So I've got some red onion that I needed to use up. We're going to add that. And then I'm going to add some spinach as well. And it's going to fit very flawlessly into the cooking process and add some extra color and nutrition to our dish. So the first thing we're going to do is make up our Tuscan heat spice, because I don't own a Tuscan heat spice blend. It's something that came in the original kit. And so I just Googled what a Tuscan heat spice blend could be. And I've got all my spices here. So we're just going to mix those together. And that's how we're going to get started. So let me just quickly check on our Q&A here. The name of the company, so it's Every Plate, Every Plate, all one word. There's many others, HelloFresh, Purple Carrot, I think it's called. And then there's pre-made meals like Factor. I think there's one called Homemade. There's lots of different ones you can try out. What was the original one? Blue Apron was the very first one I ever tried. So I'll go ahead and tell you as I'm mixing up, after I mix up the blend and get the chicken on, I'll tell you a little bit more about why I wanted to. Home chef, yes. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, and I'll put some details in the follow-up email I send with the recording for anyone that's interested. And the recipe that I sent out, and for those of you looking in the description box below, there is a link on that recipe to go to the Cone Health Employee Discount Program. Okay. All right, let's get this started. Once that chicken's kicking, I'll have more time to chat. Okay, so the recipe I looked up for the spice blend, it's 4 parts dried basil, 2 parts dried rosemary, 2 parts dried oregano, 2 parts garlic powder, 1 part cayenne, and 1 part ground fennel. So what that means is for my 1 part, I'm going to use half a teaspoon. And so for my 2 parts, I'm going to use a teaspoon. And that's how I'm going to combine. Now, I'm not a huge basil fan. So instead, I'm going to use a combination of this Italian seasoning I have and parsley. So I'm going to do 2 parts each of that. And then I didn't have ground fennel and I couldn't find it at Food Line. So I'm going to use cumin instead. And there were a couple other substitutions online that would work, but I already had cumin and I love cumin, so that's what I'm going to use. So let's combine this. So we're going to do our 2 parts each of my basil substitute. So Italian seasoning and parsley. And we're going to use the seasoning on our chicken, and we're also going to use it in the sauce. So everything's going to have, flavors that are vibing well together. Okay, now I'm going to add in my 2 parts dried rosemary, so 2 teaspoons dried rosemary. My 2 parts dried oregano. And then 2 parts garlic powder. Cayenne pepper, 1 part. That's where the heat comes in. So if you want it more or less spicy, then you want to adjust your cayenne pepper to your spice preference. Okay, so 1 part of my cumin. Okay, so I have doubled that recipe, which is all good and well. We're going to mix that together. Let's get our chicken going. So the first thing we're going to do is take our 2 chicken breasts and just drizzle a little bit of olive oil, as well as our chopped garlic. So I've got 2 teaspoons chopped garlic. Half of our spice blend, which we don't even need. I mean, I made plenty, so I'm just going to generously coat the chicken. And I'm going to go ahead and turn our pan on. Okay, to a medium-high heat. Right. And we're going to do a drizzle of olive oil in the bowl, in the pan as well, and let that heat up. All right, so to our chicken, we're going to just add a pinch of salt and pepper. You can omit this if you want. I'm just doing the tiniest pinch of each because we've got plenty of flavor in that Tuscan heat spice. All right, so you see our chicken there, and I'm just going to kind of toss it around to get it coated in those spices and garlic. Okay. And once our pan is heated, we're going to just cook our chicken over medium heat, be about 6 to 8 minutes on each side. Make sure that crushed garlic gets distributed well. Don't want to leave that out. Okay. Go ahead and place our chicken on. Add that garlic. So we're going to cook our chicken. While that's cooking, let me talk to you through a few other parts of the recipe. So I've already cooked our pasta. I just cooked it according to the bag instructions. So I boiled water, added a pinch of salt, added in our pasta, and then I went ahead and reserved a cup of the pasta water. So that is kind of the secret ingredient for our homemade pasta sauce. So you don't want to forget to reserve your pasta water. So what I do is I get a container, I'm going to put my pasta water in, and I set it inside of my colander so that when it's time to drain my pasta, I remember I got to set aside a cup of that pasta water. And then once I have done that, I drain the rest of the pasta. And then because I did it ahead of time, which I just cooked the pasta in the boiling water for 10 to 12 minutes and then drained it, I did drizzle a little bit of olive oil so that it wouldn't stick together, so that it's going to be nice and delicious and edible when I'm ready for it. And the reason I have it right here is we're going to add it into our sauce at the end. So it's going to kind of get reheated and everything right before we eat it. The chicken's starting to sizzle. I'm going to let it go a few minutes on that side, and then we'll flip it. You're going to start to get that nice aroma and get an idea, a little teaser of what those flavors are going to be when they make it to your plate. So let me tell you about what Cone Health offers. If you're a Cone Health employee, we have an employee discount program. You can find that, and maybe you've already used it, but you can find it by going to the My Benefits page, go down and you're going to see employee discount program as one of the links. And you can search by all different categories, whether it's entertainment. There's a category for food. You're going to go there. And then you're going to see a discount for every plate. And so you can try out that meal delivery kit. I think it's 75% off your first box, maybe free shipping, something like that. So I'll send that out on our little recap email. But if you want to try out something like this, again, the benefits are that it simplifies meal planning. It helps you get more confident cooking in the kitchen because you're learning some basic cooking techniques. The other pro for me is that it's really clear cooking instructions. I mean, there's pictures for each step, and they have tips. It tells you how long the prep and everything's going to be. There's a few ingredients that you need to have at home, which is normally like salt, pepper, olive oil. And they're also usually like 1 or 2 dish type meals. So we're going to use the same pan for every step here. Easy cleanup, and it keeps all the flavors kind of marrying well throughout the dish. All right, so I'm going to flip over our chicken and cook it for another 3 or 4 minutes on that side. And then we'll move on to creating our sauce. Okay, so the reason I really like this dish is because I get to enjoy my favorite comfort food, pasta, but it's a nice balanced meal because we're including some lean protein and lots of veggies to balance out that energy kick of our carbohydrates from our pasta. Now, if you were trying to do or wanting to do something a little bit more low carb, then you could use a substitute for your pasta and still make the same dish, and it would be delicious. My favorite pasta substitute, well, first let me back up. You could do a whole grain pasta. You could do a bean type pasta like chickpea, for example, or a black bean pasta. My favorite right now is Hearts of Palm. So this is the Palmini product, but it's just a Hearts of Palm in the form of linguine. I have an angel hair one. They have a spaghetti one. This is in the pasta section at the very top shelf. It's very low in carbohydrate. For 1/3 of this container, there's only 4 grams of carbohydrate. So this whole package is less than 15 grams of carbohydrate. No fat. It's low in protein, but it's really, I mean, it's just like substituting a veggie for your pasta. So similar to doing like a spiralized zucchini or a spaghetti squash, this is another really easy heat and eat option to substitute out your pasta. Okay, I think my chicken's done. It's sizzling. It's nice and brown. So I'm going to take it out and let it rest here on my cutting board. And then we're going to slice that up to serve at the end, but we're going to use this same pan. We're going to leave it on medium heat, and we're going to start with our sauce. So we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter and let that melt. All right, we're going to add in our garlic. So 1 clove of sliced garlic. We're going to let that cook and get a little bit fragrant. A spoon here. Okay. Now we're going to add in our tomato, our seasoning spice. I'm going to add in my additional ingredients. So whatever else you want to add in here, I'm going to add my red onion and my spinach, and then a little bit of salt and pepper. So we're going to start with that. So let's add in our tomatoes. Our red onion. Our spinach, and I'm going to add a lot because it's going to cook down quite a bit. So 2 big handfuls. Then our same Tuscan heat spice. And a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, so as that cooks down, I'm going to go ahead and slice our chicken. So that spinach is going to cook down pretty quickly. This recipe would be really good with shrimp as well. And if you wanted a vegetarian option, you could go with some white beans for a little bit of protein, or some chickpeas would go well with this too. There we go. Okay, so for some tips, if you are trying out a meal delivery kit and you want to reuse the recipe, the hardest thing is that they're not always going to have precise measurements because they're sending you the individualized prepackaged amount that you need. So if it's a recipe you want to recreate, you may consider weighing or measuring using measuring cups or measuring spoons the ingredients they send you and making a note of that on your recipe. Or for something like this recipe, we can't really see, but very clearly they're using 1 Roma tomato. I doubled it here. I just wanted more. The garlic is given to you in cloves, so that's very easy to recreate. The chicken breast, there's 2 chicken breasts. Really, the Tuscan heat spice, the pasta, cream cheese, and parmesan are the ingredients that I had to guesstimate on. But pasta's kind of hard to mess up. You don't need exact amount, so I just kind of went with my knowledge of how I've made other homemade sauces, about how much parmesan to use. The cream cheese, I just remembered from when I got it in the box that it was about like a fourth of the block is what it looked like. So you can, again, measure and make notes so that you can recreate it pretty accurately, or you can kind of guesstimate based off the pictures and instructions on the recipe. So let's add in our, let's see, it wants for me to add in cream cheese, half the Parmesan, and half of my reserved pasta water. So that's going to be a fourth a cup. And then we'll add more if we need to. So I'm just going to add in about a fourth a cup of my pasta water. Half my Parmesan, so I'm doing about a fourth a cup of that as well. And then my cream cheese. And as that cream cheese melts, that's really what's going to combine it all. And if the sauce is too thick, then we're just going to add a little bit more of that pasta water. So the chef's tip here from every plate was we almost always ask you to reserve a bit of pasta water before draining your pasta. It's a good habit to get into. What makes this cloudy water so darn special? It's salty and starchy, and those magical starches help emulsify your sauce, aka turn it silky smooth. Basically, it makes good pasta great. So I've seen, like chefs on Food Network use pasta water and stuff like that, but I gotta say, I had never really used it myself till I started trying these kits. And it really does make a delicious homemade sauce. Okay, so I added about another fourth a cup there as I'm getting this cream cheese to continue to melt. I don't know if y'all can see how good this is looking, but yum. Now, I added in, some more veggies, but you could add whatever you wanted. Sun-dried tomatoes would be really good in this recipe. Zucchini would be good in this recipe. Some peas. All right, that looks really good. I'm going to add in just a touch more, and this needs to be kind of simmering. I kind of had the heat up a little too high. You might want to lower that heat. Oh, that looks so yummy. Okay, let's add in the pasta. Get that nice and coated. And then we'll be ready to plate it up. A little bit more pasta water. So I probably used about a half a cup altogether. All right, there we are. Let me get this in a bowl so you can see it, and we'll give it a try. Nice big pasta bowl. Pieces of that chicken on top. This off. I'm going to clean up my bowl for presentation. Thank y'all for bearing with me today as I get over this cold. I am so sorry about that. Okay, here's our bowl. I'm going to add a little Parmesan on top. A little bit of parsley, dried parsley. Okay, so here is our Tuscan herb chicken over creamy linguine pasta with the addition of some red onion and spinach. Let's give it a try. This is just what my taste buds need after being out of commission with that cold. Get one of those pieces of herby chicken. Mmm. Mmm. Really good. So flavorful. Nice and creamy, but it doesn't feel heavy like that jarred stuff or that, there's no heavy cream. It is so good. So I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think of this stove side setup, something a little different. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.